Hey guys, my name's Zach, and today I wanted to take a short bit to talk about a question that was given to me by Jim, a worship leader I've worked with in the past, a good friend. He asked, I'm going to kind of read off some of this. He had asked for a video in the past about sound. I recorded that, and then he said, all these are great because they speak to the organic part of running sound, being an integral part of what makes groups and ministries sound great. Would you have any content about the personal approach or the headspace that you need when you sit behind the mixing board? What might encourage someone from a beginner who's overwhelmed by all the buttons and knobs from actually getting ahead of the board, not only in command of it, but in the thought process of how to present the best overall mix for the group? Taking someone from noise manager to actual sound person. So I'm going to try and pretty quickly kind of give my thoughts on this. So a lot of it has to do with mindset and the way that you approach a soundboard. A lot of sound techs take more of a passive approach of, okay, I'm just managing, like Jim, like you described, like a noise manager, or I'm just making sure nothing bad happens. And I think there's actually another approach that's really important, and it's an active approach. It's a positive approach. It's how can I enhance, make it easier for people in the congregation to worship? How can I make the band's vision for a song as effective as possible? And this is something I really learned from watching my dad growing up running sound, because he takes this approach. So I learned this from him. I continue on and have tried to grow in that as well. When I'm running sound, there are a few things that I do as a worship leader that I do because I know that as a worship leader I would want these things. So the first thing that I do as in the mindset to prepare is I make sure that I know the arrangement of the songs, even as the sound tech. So when I'm running sound, I'm still listening to the songs in Planning Center just like everybody else on the team. This idea about sound that it is something different, it's not an instrument, is actually kind of inherently flawed. It requires a great deal of skill and knowledge of the board to be comfortable. In a sense, a lot of times before a service, I will actually practice moves, especially in sound check, that I plan on making on the soundboard during the service. So for example, a lot of times if the team is trying to build up in dynamics, I may just bump the fader to kind of ride it and help them grow a little bit to accentuate that movement. And I'll practice that in sound check. If I'm there in rehearsal, ideally, I'm going to practice that in rehearsal. And so I'm actually practicing a move just like on guitar I might practice a chord progression. But I'm practicing the actual movement of the soundboard. So that's the first thing. You practice your soundboard like it's an instrument that you were playing on the team, because the reality it is. It's just it's a different type of animal. But if you approach it that way, it actually will help you be more consistent and help you. I use the word perform. Worship isn't a performance, but performing under pressure on the soundboard and not being overwhelmed by it. When we put in the preparation, it makes it easier to execute under pressure. Okay, so other things that I, from a mindset perspective as a sound guy, I want to make sure first of all that my sound or my worship team, that they can hear everything properly in monitors. And a lot of times this isn't as big a deal because of Avioms or personal mixers. But especially if we don't have them. As a sound guy, I want to keep an eye out for when people seem to be struggling, because a lot of times it's monitor related. And a principle behind this: musicians will not play at their best unless they can hear at their best. So if they cannot hear what they need to hear, they will not be able to execute on the level they're capable of under pressure. So as a sound guy, when I'm running sound, I keep an eye out for, do I get a feeling like is this a great musician who just can't hear, or is it someone who just consistently struggles if there are issues? That affects how I approach it. A lot of it is about looking for opportunities to be an active mixer. So for example, I talked about learning the song arrangement. Well, one of the things that I'm looking for what are the specific instruments that I need to feature in this section. And I want to prepare those moves ahead of time so that just as a drummer, I'm not responding behind where the dynamics should be, but I'm actually leading the dynamics. I'm driving our team to it before it even, like, just right on the front edge of where it's supposed to happen so that they feel it and they go with me. As a sound tech, I want to do a similar thing where I'm anticipating the moves that are coming. I'm anticipating that when we go into the chorus and it's going to be bigger, maybe the piano had a significant part or the track had a significant part, and then I want to switch the featured instrument to electric guitars, or maybe I want to bring up the bass a little bit to give it kind of more of a presence in a louder chorus. All that to say, it depends on the song, but I'm listening to the arrangement, I'm listening to what my worship leader has given me about the song, and then I'm trying to plan my moves to line up with that vision and trying to prepare it ahead of time. And because I don't typically get to run sound all that often now, really consistently, it's been one of the roles I put in less time into because of the needs in the churches I've been in. I have to plan my moves much more significantly than I do on other instruments like guitar or piano. On those, because I have the experience, I can go a lot more on instinct and it's not going to be a big deal. On sound, a lot of times I will make notes and plan out, okay, what are the moves I'm going to make, because I know that I don't have as much experience to fall back on or enough consistent practice at it, because it's not as, I don't get to run sound as frequently as, as if it was my main thing. And because of that, I compensate for that. So I take the understanding that this isn't my main thing. I'm not going to have as much consistent practice or experience to fall back on, so I need to plan more to compensate for that, so I still execute at a high level. So these are all the things I would look at. I hope it's helpful. If you have other questions or things you would like me to address, just comment below. I would love to tailor the videos we're making to what your needs are, what questions you have, the needs of your team. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.